Welcome to Saints and Sevens, a Trench Crusade community podcast. My name is Jesse Aiken.
And I'm Johnny Doe. Welcome back, everyone.
This is very exciting, Johnny. We talked about this in the bonus feed, I think, more, but we're prepping for a trip right now.
Yeah, we are actually. It's like impending. So by the time you're listening to this, we will be done. Something along those lines. Somewhere in that general vicinity of the time of the future versus now. But
yes.
Yeah, we are coming very quickly on our deadline for our getaway gaming weekend that we're going to be doing. Us and a few buddies, and we're running a campaign on Saturday for Trench Crusade, and so we've been doing wild amounts of prep for terrain and models and those kinds of things, because we have context. People coming who've never played Trench Crusade and don't have stuff, so we're trying to like get everyone sorted on that kind of stuff, and it'll be a good time for people to learn how to play, for some people to get first time throughs the campaign system, and I'll be really interested on the back end how people respond to it.
100%. And also, we're going to be talking about it today, a little bit more detail, and we're obviously going to talk about it when we get back. So there's a lot of exciting stuff here, but essentially we were talking for a while about this concept, and it's really funny. I'm really glad that Johnny planned this, because this is something that's been on my docket for, no exaggerations, probably 10 years. I've always talked about, for my birthday or some sort of thing for me, I have a weekend where I only play games with buddies. But the problem is you should start getting through the list of your buddies, and you're like, well, I've got my board game friends. I got just my friends who might want to play like a party game at night, but that's really it,
Yeah.
I've got my minis friends. And it's kind of hard, because then you start thinking, okay, who would actually wants to play what, and would it be appropriate? And then also, how many people is too many? I think that's a very reasonable question, and one that Johnny and I have had many conversations about, where we'd love to scale this thing up in the future. But if we scale it up, it's probably changing something else. It's probably just changing to a weekend getaway tournament. It's going to be something different.
Yeah, exactly. And that changes the entire vibes too. And it is, admittedly, was similar to you in that sense of like, I've always thought about doing it, for like a Father's Day or a birthday or something along those lines. And honestly, it just never been in a place where I had the right group of people within proximity to be able to make it happen. And yeah, that's kind of changed now, and the opportunity came up, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to send it, see if anybody bites on this year, see how it goes, and playing a bunch of stuff, and it's just going to be a chill weekend of games. So pretty stoked.
I'm super stoked, and it's going to be a blast. We're going to be covering it on this show, and I'll be probably talking about it on some of my other shows too, because we're covering more than Trench Crusade there. But
indeed,
Trench Crusade, I would say, is probably going to be the coup de grace of the whole weekend. It's just kind of how it worked out, I guess, is the easier way to say it, Johnny, because it's a little bit cooler to play a game system that isn't intrinsically a campaign over the course of one weekend than just maybe some regular tournaments, right? When we are doing regular tournaments with other game systems, but Trench Crusade is getting its own day for a reason.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be kind of cool to actually experience it compressed down, because I've obviously done it, over weeks of gameplay and things like that. And actually locally, I just got hit up today. They want to spin up another campaign here locally. They just finished the Conquest Slow Grow and Tournament for Last Argument of Kings again. They just did a second one. We did one last year. They just did another one this year. I didn't participate in that one this time. But they just wrapped that up, and that was kind of what we were waiting for to do the next Trench Crusade campaign. So we're going to be spinning that up here probably in the next month or so. But it'll be interesting to see how it compares doing it in a single day kind of context, because that's the thing, is we're dedicating the entire day until we're done with Trench Crusade for the day. And then, of course, we may play some other games if we want to here or there, when we're done and stuff like that. But it's not like we're going to be coming in on Friday and starting to play Trench Crusade. We're doing it all on Saturday. So it's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. And I could see there being a world too, being realistic with hosting things, that we've all experienced this, where maybe if something goes awry, that like the Great War is like Sunday morning or something,
Sure. Yeah.
Which is going to be our final scenario, of course. But regardless, 90% or 100% of the Trench Crusade is all going to happen on Saturday. And we thought it was a really unique opportunity to talk about this format of playing a campaign in a self-contained weekend. Is it possible for your game group? Even if it's not possible, we thought this is a really cool way to document bringing a lot of new people to the game and seeing how they experience the game in a tighter window, which I think is actually really going to be helpful, Johnny, learning the game wise.
Exactly. Yeah, that's going to be a strong suit of it, is because you can get the reps, like within close proximity to each other. So it's not like something you're going to walk away from and just be like, wait a second, how did that rule work again? Because you can get plenty of reps doing it. And to support that idea for bringing in new people into this situation, what we've decided to do is we were going to go ahead and we're going to build lists to start everyone off in the campaign for each of the different factions that we're bringing, because we're supplying a lot of the factions.
Yes.
For people that are coming, a few people are bringing their own, but about half of the people don't have warbands, so we're bringing extra warbands for them. And we're just going to pre-build them effectively. And we kind of thought that would be a good opportunity here to kind of chat about that, give you guys an idea of, because if you're in the bonus feed off the Patreon, then you heard the build that we did for Jesse for this exact event that we're doing for his courts, which are looking real sick, by the way. If you're on the Discord, you've seen pictures of his.
That's right.
What do we call it? Like He-Man synthwave?
Yeah. Yeah. That works.
Yeah.
That totally works.
Send it. That's our new. That's a new thing.
Absolutely. As I talked about in the bonus feed, Lovecraft, other dimensional inspired, right? Court, which,
yes.
Who's to say what the other realms like hell, look like, right? And so it's fun to me.
That's what I love about this game is so in limitless opportunities. And you even posted in the Discord a really cool model you're going to be using for your Desecrated Saint or your Praetor.
Yes, my Desecrated Saint. Yes,
yeah, man, it's super cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, I found a really cool one, and so did Drew. So I'm excited to get the color out of space. That's the name of my warband to the table. This Lovecraft kind of inspired He-Man color palette out there. And then Drew, we also built his list on the bonus feed as well. So you're seeing a trend. Drew's list for this weekend, he's landing on another court roster, but very different. Mine's more of a tanky greed. His is going to be more of a control, wider sloth based list. So just a little bit different in expression. And Drew's list is looking sharp too. Drew's got this kind of frozen throne is what I call it. The frozen throne theme, this ice. He called it when hell freezes over, as they called it.
Yeah.
And I'm calling it the frozen throne because it's very Arthas Death Knight inspired. And wow, it's looking really cool and nothing like my court roster.
That's and that's what I love about it is two different lists, but also aesthetically, neither of you have gone the typical grimdark approach to it.
And that's Drew and I,
Yeah, I love it.
We like to have fun, but also something I talked about on this feed and the bonus feed, I think especially, I love making mirrors exciting in games. And, if you've got a fully canonized Spider-Man team versus a fully canonized Spider-Man team, I mean, it looks cool, it looks great, but sometimes you're like, whose model's who? You know what I mean? And every once in a while, even the guy that's like, hey, my stuff's Spider-Man, but it's done cell shading style, that's still a really cool mirror match, right? Because now you can like visually see, and I think it helps both players, right? And so I always try to do that when I can, when it makes sense. I'm probably going to do the same now for the rest of Trench Crusade. I'm probably not going to go as crazy as the court, but you never know. I've got some Heretic Raiders in my future that I like to do fun stuff with. Bring out the sharks.
Yeah,
bring out the sharks. So,
Street Sharks, was it Street Sharks or Street Sharks, right? That was a cartoon from back in the day. Yeah.
Oh man, that needs to be. Yeah, somebody needs to make a model for that. So we built my court roster. We built Drew's. And now we are building Tim's on the bonus feed as well. So if you heard that on the bonus feed, that's also out when you're hearing this episode. So what we're saying here is we have a 6-player event happening at this event this weekend. The 3 Fallen lists have been built on the bonus feed and talked about. We thought this was a really interesting opportunity to talk about the faithful lists we've built for players and the direction we're going to go with this. But also, we thought this could be a really fun opportunity for you to build faithful and fallen lists at 700 ducats for new players. Just get started and use these lists.
Yeah, it's easy, copy and grab, not a problem. And if you're a Patreon member and have access to the Discord, we'll post them up in the Faithful and the Fallen lists over there. So you can just grab them off of there and give them a run. It'll be a good baseline just to get started. Nothing too complicated, because that's kind of the idea of how we built these, is to be accessible to new players.
Oh, absolutely. And also we've asked certain players to, like, we've also assumed, like, well, we want to see the Brazen Bull on the table. We want to see the Sniper Priest. We want to see the Werewolf, right?
Yeah.
And Tim, one of our players, was like, I want to play the faction with that wolf, And so it's like, okay, well, that model's locked, right, for the Heretics. So there's a lot of that. But at the same time, too, what's so exciting about this episode is this is the calm before the storm of our weekend event, our campaign. but it's also a snapshot of time of these lists. We get to see how these lists change through the campaign at the end, see who died, see who lived, tell the story of the rosters, and just kind of see how they did in the tournament too, and like what the story was there. Because we're going to do that when we get back on the main feed and bonus feed respectively.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So let's kick it off then. Let's get started. We've got 3 factions we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing the Trench Pilgrims first, then we're going to be going on to New Antioch, and then we're going to go on and finish up with Sultanate, the defenders of the Iron Wall. Now,
That's right.
Just a disclaimer, we are not running sub-factions for the sake of simplicity, because again, beginners are probably going to be playing these, so we want to make sure it's accessible.
Oh, also, Johnny, I don't think it's definitely worth mentioning to the listener. By design, we did try to make our 6-person event 3 faithful, 3 fallen, just for flavor purposes. The irony is we had 2 people who really wanted to play court, and we also said none of us are huge fans of Black Grail. If there was someone that was a huge fan of Black Grail, we would have obviously snuck them in. But since no one was like jumping towards Black Grail, we just said, okay, well, luckily the court is so different that they are kind of sub factions that'll be playing this event, but everyone else has their own self-contained warband, and 3 and 3.
That's exactly what we did. So starting off with Trench Pilgrims, and we talked a little bit. This is going to be a relatively familiar build from when we talked early on in the show about our Trench Pilgrim builds that we did, and we played our TTS game with a while back. So just starting up at the top, we're going to be starting off with a War Prophet. Obviously, War Prophet's always going to be your leader. They're going to be running Molotov cocktails for ranged, anti-tank hammer, reinforced armor, and the Iron Caparot is going to give them the Negate Fear tag there. So, play-wise, they're going to want to be in there, banging heads with that anti-tank hammer. It's a great weapon. We didn't have enough points at the back end to get them a really long distance sort of range weapon, so their priority is going to be moving, but with their special ability, they're going to be able to bump themselves down the battlefield pretty quickly. So
yeah, those loudspeakers are going to come in handy too, right, for the Trench Pilgrim player every time, right? And speaking of this model too, while we're here, Johnny, this is not a deep dive, but quick shout out for anyone that hasn't played the Trench Pilgrims. I mean, the loudspeakers obviously giving your guys extra movement, but then you've got the laying on hands and the Memento Mori as well, which I think are abilities that are really sneaky good.
Oh, absolutely. So, and to the point, we're not going to necessarily deep dive them, but just understand that the War Prophet is able to move other models along the way. So really, really dangerous if you pair them with the Stigmatic Nuns, because the Stigmatic Nuns, which we have in the list, no surprise there, are 8-inch base movement, so have a much higher base movement than any of the rest of the models. And getting that extra movement off of the loudspeakers is extremely beneficial for them. And you can also do it to themselves or themselves, Laying on the hands gives them the ability to manage blood markers, which is great. And then the Memento Mori is basically giving him that tough keyword, which is going to make him just difficult to kill and get out of the game.
First
what you want. Yeah, especially because you're using the anti-tank hammer. If you're not familiar with the battle kit, you actually take a blood marker every time you use it, because it's a risky success to do it, but it's extremely damaging. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about our second and final elite of the 700 starting ducat lists with the communicant. So the anti-tank hammer is making an appearance again. What do you know? So is the reinforced armor, which is going to give this guy -2 armor, which is going to be great because this guy already has negate shrapnel and negate gas, because we're going to give him he starts with the communicant cross, So that's that nailed on cross on his face, which gives him this super helmet, right? So negate fear, negate gas, negate shrapnel. This guy's good. He's a beater.
Oh yeah, he's got all of the keywords. Big thing is, don't do like I did one time when I wasn't paying attention early on, and I gave him a machine gun, because he's -3 dice on the ranged, and I was across the board literally hitting nothing the entire time with this machine gun, because that was my mistake.
Yeah, he's Hulk. He wants to get in and smash.
Definitely Hulk. And for the listeners, something to remember too, since we are playing these in a campaign mode, these are not one-off games. Some of the considerations we made with starting equipment is based on the idea and the knowledge that we will get additional ducats every game, and we'll be able to trade, sell, swap, and buy new equipment the entire way up moving forward. So there might be ones where you're like, hey, that's a weird choice, but it might be worthwhile to say take another Pilgrim instead of give an upgraded weapon or an upgraded armor to a single model, just because of the necessity of, area control and those kinds of things in the game.
Yeah, this guy might get more stuff as he goes on, right? Especially, I think.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
There are ways to make him even more annoying to get rid of. So moving into troops, the iconic Anchorite Shrine. So here's a prime example. So we did not buy an Ecclesiarch prisoner to break on the wheel for the first game. Likely we'll pick that up in the second game for sure, because it's such a powerful thing. The Anchorite is very straightforward. It comes with everything it comes with. You can't buy any more equipment with it. So you don't even have to worry about it. Literally, the only thing that you can do is you can pick up a Ecclesiarch prisoner to break on the wheel at the beginning of the round or the beginning of the game. But we didn't do that in this case. Again, like I said, to conserve money.
He's 140.
He's pricey, but not as pricey as the other guys, which is something, which is crazy, because I would be surprised if he doesn't someday get a balanced pass on the cost, because he's
he's really
backbreaking sometimes.
I mean, after we built my list, my stuff is obviously not cheap. Obviously not cheap, but I even want more kaiju with the court, right? And it got expensive.
Wildly contrasting our Antioch list that we're going to get to here in a minute.
Oh yeah.
So moving on, we get to our Stigmatic Nuns, and what you'll see is we also, for simplicity's sake, because new players are going to be playing these, we tried to get as many reps with the same models and with the same loadouts as possible to not make it highly complex. Again, various ways that you could build these models out that maybe might be more power gamer or more efficient in certain ways, but for good solid benefits and good simplicity. Yeah, exactly.
Exercise, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we have two Stigmatic Nuns coming in the exact same builds, and that is going to be, their ranged is going to be a grenade, the War Cross, which is great because it's an assault weapon that ignores long range, which is good because they're fast moving, and they're going dual melee for a flail and a sword for their close combat. And that's what they've got. No armor, nothing else at this point. We're keeping them pretty stripped down and bare. Beautiful thing about the nuns is you're not really afraid of blood markers because you can convert them to blessing markers. So you kind of want to get a couple on there at the beginning of the game if possible.
Also, the flail, me looking at it and reading it, this is what you want to use as your offhand weapon?
No, as your primary, because you lose the bonus. Primary. Yeah, you lose the bonus on the offhand.
So it's your primary. The sword is the offhand. And as we were saying, like, we're trying to make the lore express in the highest level too, and obviously the simplicity of the rules and learning these factions at a baseline 700 ducats. And with that in mind, obviously duplicating the Stigmatic Nun we think is the best way to teach a new player, rather than like, oh, here's my second nun with a different loadout and all this different stuff. And so you're going to see a lot of that through today's discussion as well. Subtle changes, but a lot of the models are duplications.
Just for simplicity's sake. In a comparison to that, it's going to be our Trench Pilgrims for the list. Yeah. We have two Trench Pilgrims in this list, both very close. One of them has a semi-auto rifle, which is the preferred method, and generally speaking, with a bayonet. The other has a bolt-action rifle because of points and a bayonet. So basically, the only real difference is you're kind of losing the assault keyword, which is your obviously a huge benefit. These guys are probably sitting back in the distance taking pot shots anyways. 7
activation list. It's got 3 guys that can hit really hard. Well, really 5, right? They're going to include the nuns here, right?
They're just less resilient is really the only issue compared to the other 3 because they don't have like a tough keyword and stuff like that. But yeah,
but you've always got your pilgrims to sit on objectives at the back and plank away and stay alive. And I like that the nuns can flank, and the shrine and communicants can really move up to the midline and take a lot of focus, right? Because that's where they want to be. That's where they want to be, right? So,
and they're such threatening models that people are going to get distracted by them, and they're going to have to do something with them, because if you don't tie up that anchorite, it's just going to stomp through your entire army, right? It's not particularly fast, but it's going to crush anything it runs into. The problem is if you pair that War Prophet with those 2 Stigmatic Nuns, that's going to be just a blender of models wherever they go. Whatever flank they take, they're going to huge threat on.
So good. And I think worth mentioning while we're here, Johnny, is how we would scale this list up. We're not going to talk about it through the duration of the whole campaign, but let's say this player gets 2-3 missions in. Mm-hmm. What are they going to be adding next, vaguely?
Yeah, definitely looking at the War Prophet, you're going to want to get a good ranged weapon on them. It depends too, like because you can't really know at this level if glory comes into play or if you're just going to be getting ducats based on what you also find, because that's part of the whole campaign, the fun of the campaign system. But you're definitely looking at a range weapon. I would look at anything with an assault, submachine gun, something along those lines. Probably picking up a couple more pilgrims, definitely an ecclesiarch prisoner.
Definitely.
Maybe two, right? Because a guy with a big bomb strapped to him running across the field is also intimidating,
Yeah.
And you also have to break an ecclesiarch prisoner at the beginning of every game. So you're always going to just think of that like a dwindling resource, because it doesn't carry over.
Bring the new prisoner.
Yeah, bring me another.
Golly. So dark.
And then just looking at things, armor, helmets, caprotes, things like that, things that are going to help build resiliency for the rest of the units. Because the thing to remember too in a campaign is you are limited by how many models you can field based on which round of the campaign it is. So starting off, you have a 10 model limit. So you can, if you have more than 10 models, you can't even bring them to the table. So you really think about that when you're going really wide and you're thinking about your expansion is where is it best spent? Can I build more resilient models or do I need to keep going wider? And one of the things the Trench Pilgrims have for it is they have some really, really excellent like mid-tier models that can be extremely resilient, extremely tough to remove, but aren't like crazy costed like you deal with Court, where you have a 250 ducat model, which is a nightmare to deal with, obviously, but your list is 4 wide or 5 wide,
285.
285. I undersold it. I was being conservative. I bet we can bump
That's my Praetor.
We gotta get those numbers up. Get 300.
Got to pump those numbers. You got to get that Praetor up to 300. Oh man, he's gonna do well. I hope.
I'm going to stay far away from him. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, teaser for the bonus feed on Patreon, but I mean, he's got Grady Hearts, he's got the Serpent Assault Gun, he's got the sword, he's got the Mellow Branch sword, he's got reinforced armor, he's got all the good stuff.
He's got everything.
He's ready. He's ready to lead this warband to get more money, I guess. Agreed. This guy.
Just make it rain. He's going to be making it rain back there.
That's what he wants.
Yeah, so what it doesn't say is the Serpent Gun is actually one of those dollar bill guns that you get that just like shoot dollar bills out, except it shoots serpents in its place.
This guy, man. that mellow branch sword too. I cannot wait to use it.
It's gonna be nasty. I'm looking. I've never seen it used, so I'm really stoked to see somebody get just obliterated.
We will see. So that's the Trench Pilgrims, and that's kind of how they're going to scale up. And obviously, we'll return to them in the future and how they did. But let's move on to Antioch, and this is really interesting because Antioch. I think it's safe to say, Johnny, and we have our Antioch episode coming very soon too.
Mm-hmm.
They're complex in their own unique way, right?
Yeah, and they have a metric ton of variety when it comes to their sub-factions, which I think is actually where Antioch is compelling, because when they first released early on, when it was beta and like all the rules initially dropped, I was very uncompelled by Antioch. I was like, these guys are just vanilla, boring. Like there's nothing particularly inspiring to me. I mean, the mechanized heavy armor is cool, but otherwise like, so whatever. But the extensive amount of incredibly unique sub-factions that you have offers not just gameplay modalities that are different, but modeling stylings that are so different. But again, to keep things simple, we wanted to keep it straight main faction here only.
Yeah.
But the one thing that Antioch does extremely well is wide.
Yeah. That's how we built it.
You can get, and we were conservative. We could have kept going wider, but we decided to, like put a couple at least in there for some higher points. Yeah, they do a good job.
After we're done recording this episode, and we're quite literally about to step on planes and getting cars to travel, Johnny's about to do an inventory of his yeomen,
Yeah, make sure I have enough actually to field all for whoever's playing these guys.
Yeah. So keep that in mind.
That's right.
But we wanted to build around the fantasy of Antioch as well. And we kind of like leaned into the lore a bit more. And, a lot of questions we ask ourselves too when new players are coming to the table. What do we want to see? We want to see their incarnate shrine, right? We want to see the sniper priest. We want to see the mechanized heavy infantry. We want to see the lieutenant on the table. And so we started there. And I think obviously our lieutenant and our mechanized heavy infantry are two of the most pricey units we've got out here in this roster today. Let's just get into lieutenant right now because he's pretty kitted out, Johnny.
He is. He's good to go. He's ready for a day in the trenches. So running up submachine gun because why not? Submachines is great. Dual wielding swords and axes, reinforced armor. Yeah, combat helmet. We had a couple extra ducats left over. We were able to get him a helmet. Like surplus style, he's like walking by and someone's like, hey boss, we got a helmet. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Throw that bad boy on. Doesn't quite fit right, but it's okay. He's going to be a solid, just, beater from wherever he's at in the table, which I think is important for the lieutenant, to be able to have that kind of flexibility and role.
Well, moving on to the sniper priest, we actually gave him a sniper rifle. What do you know? I know it's very in vogue to give him some sort of automatic rifle or something like that, or send the semi-automatic, right? But we wanted him to be sniping. We wanted the range band to really come into play on these boards. We are playing on 3x3 boards. So he got a sniper rifle.
He did. And a knife.
And a knife. We had money left over.
You do not want to get a melee with this guy. He's just likely to trip. I mean, he doesn't have any eyes, so give him some credit, right? I mean, -2 melee attack dice is going to be a sad day, but hey.
Speaking of the campaign, whatever that rule is that he has, where he if you roll that failure on injury check, he just doesn't affect him because he doesn't have eyes, right?
That's right.
Losing an eye injury. So, but that's it for our elites. Pretty straightforward there. Let's get into the troops and the two big boys first, Johnny, the mechanized heavy infantry and the combat engineer. So starting with the mechanized heavy infantry, we want kind of like a mid to close range guy, but gave him the heavy shotgun. He's got the machine armor. I mean, what more is there to say? Yeah,
we did upgrade for the machine armor, so he's a -3. And he's got that heavy shotgun, so he's coming in blasting at that mid-range point. It probably gameplay, you'll see him paired up with either in a fire team or with like in close proximity to a fire team of yeomen that are going to be able to handle the close combat piece for it, and while he just kind of softens up whatever's coming in at him.
Love it. Yeah, love it. So the combat engineer is also a little pricey. He's at 125. He also got a submachine gun. He got the satchel charge, and he has the engineer body armor, and of course the shovel, which he starts with.
Yep. And the shovel's relevant because for him and his hands, it gives him constant cover basically wherever he's at. It can also be used as a melee weapon. So it's got some dual purpose there that comes with it. It's perfectly fine. This isn't somebody that you really want to be locked in close combat. He's going to be, giving you area control and booby trapping things is going to be a lot more beneficial. So he'll have an interesting gameplay on the table. And then with
that shovel, he can end every turn, Johnny, like you were talking about, with a risky success roll to make sure he dug the cover hole, and if he did, good for him,
Yep, and he's good to go, and he's also gonna be booby trapping everything with bombs, which is mildly annoying depending on what scenario you're playing and if you need to be into the train or not. So it could be a real bad day.
Good point.
So moving on, we have a pair of yeomen running bolt action rifles and bayonets, real basic, 37 ducats each. Not a lot going on there as far as complexity. Just real straightforward and simple. And I'll say, especially early on in these campaigns, running some sort of rifle that gives you that like 24-inch-ish range and a bayonet is just a good cost-effective way to outfit a model early on. Because you can upgrade that stuff later, get them swords, get them better close combats. They don't need you could sell the bayonets later. You could upgrade to semi-autos if you couldn't get them off the front end. But that's just a good baseline to make someone effective at most ranges. Because remember, most games are being played on a 36x36, some on a 48x48, so some on a 4x4. But deployments are usually around 6 inches. So you're already pulling off another 12 inches of that. So it's feasible that by the time you make your first set of movement, you're in range to start taking shots already if you've got a 24-inch range weapon.
Yep.
And that's significant on turn one to be able to already meet combat effectiveness early on.
Well, then we talked about the trench pilgrims too. Like these guys just staying alive, coming out plinking, dashing back, scoring points on the back line. Always good to have that.
Or just charging headlong through the open.
You know what?
Paying the consequence.
I will do that with my Bella Branch sword.
Well, you're not going to be able to get that guy behind any cover. He's just going to be like, I'm going to hide behind this tree. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to get behind the tree. The tree's not big enough.
I'm 285 and I'm ready.
Yeah, he's been hitting the gains.
Kill some guys.
That's right.
So those are going to be your cheap back point ones, but we have another pair of yeomen, once again, matching, that costs a little more, 73 each, because these guys have the flamethrower and the trench club. So these guys definitely want to get in closer.
Oh, yeah. And it is of value if you don't understand the meta yet to have fire if you can get it into your lists, because it negates armor, and there are certain creatures and factions, especially within Black Grail, that your life will be much easier. You'll be able to actually play the game with fire versus if you don't have fire, you're just playing the game at a flat deficit. if depending on who your opponents are.
So Johnny, let's talk about how this list is going to play and how we're going to teach a new player with this unit, with this list. How are you going to teach them the fire teams with this list in particular?
Yeah, so my inclination with the fire teams is I would run the 2 flamethrower yeomen out front with the mechanized heavy infantry kind of behind them, right? Mm-hmm. And they're kind of just running as a group, the yeomen being the fire team, and then the mechanized being back there kind of stomping around and just being a threat. The combat engineers definitely kind of probably be out on its own, trying to get in and basically get to wherever the objectives are, booby trap things along those lines. You've got the sniper priest obviously way back in the back. He's got a 40-inch range, so he's just going to be trying to smoke
whole
guys.
Table.
Yeah, whole table is going to be his from start. And then your bolt action guys, you already said, they're going to be sitting on objectives and be kind of your runners there. So pretty straightforward. Upgrades. What are you thinking for upgrades long term?
We're going to be scaling stuff up, I think, on this list a lot, but I also think too we're going to probably introduce, and this is a natural conversation happening today, as players get more comfortable. Maybe it's round 3 of the campaign. Now you can say, you know what, you've been upgrading these guys a lot. Are you comfortable? Let's add in 2 shock troopers, right? Let's get a new unit type in here while you made your other guys stronger over time. So, I mean, there's more room, Johnny, to make our elite guys. I say elite as a nebulous conversation because I mean the mechanized heavy infantry as well.
Yeah.
Start beefing those guys up. Missions 2, 3 onward, right?
Yeah, I mean, even pulling in additional mechanized, right? There's a limit to them you could have, but you could pull them in. The shock troopers are great because they're really good in melee. They're very strong up close, right? So they're the ones that you would be future proofed into getting in there close and stuff like that. They're ones you could dump some points in for. Well, I think, again, just looking at Antioch's base offerings, continuing to push that wide limit is going to be just out-activate your opponent,
This is already 8, right? So we're pushing up on that 10. When does it go past 10, Johnny, in the campaign?
So campaign 1 is actually 12 models max that you can have.
Okay.
But there's a 8 of 10 situation there at the beginning. And then it goes up every campaign round. It'll go up. So it'll go up by a couple models every single time.
Okay. So they could just keep going wider and wider. I mean,
exactly.
If they really wanted to. So I think the shock troopers would be a natural addition, but obviously more yeomen. And eventually, as you said, we don't know how the campaign's going to go with our players. We also don't know how the glory is going to phase out, but we're also going to have mercenaries appearing as an option. When I think of Antioch getting like a clumping of ducats or glory, it's like, oh, we bring an anti-tank communicant in here now, are we doing this or that? Like, I think that's pretty cool space for them where they can bring another interesting model to accentuate their wide list.
Yeah, exactly. And to kind of shore up different areas that maybe you don't have, maybe it's being that close combat threat. Maybe it is continuing to play, hey, I'm just going to play the long game and I'm going to have a couple of shock troopers in the mechanized armor that's going to run up and like claim objectives or whatever. But otherwise, I'm going to have everybody back here and I'm just going to rule you from 36 inches and over away and just
I like that.
Hit you with heavy machine guns, hit you with sniper rifles, hit you, you know what I'm saying? Like hit you with, the anti-material rifles and just blow through everything you've got.
Love it. Also, something we haven't talked about yet today, but I mean the trench cleric, right? I think he would make his appearance as the list goes on as another elite.
Yeah, because I mean the thing that Antioch just has going for it is effectively you get a lot of model for not a lot of cost, and so you really have a lot of options you can get everything on the table pretty quickly as far as to pull from. Because again, as a reminder to the listeners, if you haven't played the scenarios yet, there are some asymmetric scenarios where you will not bring, like you may bring your limit of say 10 or 12 models to the table, but then if you're defending, you may only get to field 6 plus D3 of them. Right. So that is something also to play with. And that is in some ways an advantage that a wider list has because you at least have options now. Hey, if I've got the melee combat, if I've got the ranged, what's the scenario I'm playing? Okay, maybe I want to shift more towards a ranged game, or maybe I want to shift more towards a close combat build out for these guys. Whereas if you've got 5 models and that's all you've got, then you're fielding 5,
That's me.
So
very cool scaling up of Antioch. Obviously, one of the widest breadths of things to change their campaign is an Antioch warband, right? And so I think it's going to be a lot based on the player, also based on the story they want to tell. Something we haven't talked about yet today, Johnny, which I'm really excited to get these lists in players' hands. But start asking them the names of their models. We're going to write these names down of these guys and girls in these lists and see who survives the campaign, see who gets replaced, whatever happens,
Yeah, and because as a reminder, some of these are going to get upgraded and promoted into elites, right? Some of these basic troops. And that's another argument for running a troop heavy list like we do with Antioch is you've got a lot of options to upgrade to those elites. You're not filling your elite from the beginning to where you can only upgrade, promote 2 or 3 models only. The rest are going to be stuck kind of where they're at. So you have a lot of options in a situation like that to do it. So yeah, I'll be curious specifically where that list of all the lists goes long term throughout the campaign.
Oh yeah, and I can't wait to see everybody's lore expressions and names of their characters, right, and who makes it to the end. Oh, yeah. I know Drew's already got some great names, so we will follow that thread to the end and hear the whole story. We'll cover our last faithful faction today and our last faithful faction of the campaign, the Iron Sultanate. Once again, no sub factions here. We're just doing core Iron Sultanate stuff. But another reason why we want to do this episode, we think these core non sub faction based discussions are really valid for new players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would always encourage if you're getting started, like keep it simple out the gate, right? There's nothing wrong with building a list of, your one leader and 4 or 5 just well-kitted troop of all the same, just to get the basic mechanism of the game down while you play it the first game or two, right? And I would encourage you also, if you're learning to play the same list a few times before you shift, right? So maybe don't, jump into a campaign from day one. There's nothing wrong if you want to jump into a campaign, obviously, but if you're just learning the game, get a couple learning games in first. Get the same list, just play it a few times. I did that with my Trench Pilgrims. I built one list. I played that list probably 10 times before I started to even fiddle with anything. Even though going into stuff, I'm playing with people who are using Glory, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. You use your Glory. I'm just going to stay with my list, and I'm just going to run it at a deficit sometimes or whatever, because it's just about learning, what does the model do? How does it do it well? And then you figure out, okay, got it. I know what this model's supposed to do now. And then in light of that, I'm still going to run across the board and try and punch you in the face, even though I shouldn't.
I was about to ask. Yeah, I was like, is the punching happen? And Johnny, I need my Glory. I need it because I need my Scripture Guardian. I just need him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I need that guy. I need him. So, well, let's get into the Sultanate, which I'm not sure we've locked all of our players yet on all the factions, but this seems like could be the one you might be playing, Johnny.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad about it.
I don't think you would be. No.
Because they'd be pretty cool. I do like the Sultanate.
Well, and I think we both made the unanimous decision that one of the new players has to play Pilgrims.
Oh yeah, I mean they're very straightforward. Antioch same way. Antioch's very straightforward. Fun too. Yeah, they're just a good time. I die on the hill of the Pilgrims. I love the Pilgrims. They're probably my favorite faction. But
inversely, kind of like the Heretics too, in a lot of ways. I think about this. The Sultanate speaks to a lot of people, and when it speaks to them, it speaks to them. The theme.
I'm super stoked. So with this build kind of leaned into a balance of mid-range fire and get in your face really fast and smash things. So starting off from the top end, we got our Uzbazi captain running just real smasher, upgraded to a veteran, a Janissarian veteran. Frag grenades for any sort of ranged attacks. Great sword because it's dual wielding because it has upgraded abilities for strong. Alchemist armor, which is super cool. It's a super cool piece of battle kit. It negates gas, negates fire, which is awesome because that goes back to people bringing flamethrowers and stuff like that to try to, because fire typically gets through armor, so which is what makes it so powerful. And gives you some restrictions on injury dice on your opponent, which is super awesome. Running a trench shield and a combat helmet. So this guy's all about resiliency and just getting in there and smashing heads.
Yeah, no, he's going to survive, which is great. It's what you want. He's 164, which is pretty pricey to start. But you want to talk about pricey? Let's get into this Brazen Bull. He's 205, which is very exciting. He's got both of the weapons. He's got the machine gun and the Titan sword. What's the name of it, Ronnie?
The Zulfikar, I believe is how it's pronounced.
The Titan Zulfikar. What a cool name for a sword. It's a sword with +2 injury, critical, and heavy.
Yeah, just a single-handed sword too. It's not even like a giant, heavy sword. It's just like a single-handed sword. For giant
the lore is it can weigh up to 300 pounds. So yeah,
exactly.
It's crazy, but he just has standard armor for now, and then the Wind Amulet, which is wow, what a cool lore bit here. When I learned about this when we were building this list, an amulet created by the Jabrian alchemists, capturing the essence of the element of the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Extra movement.
Yeah, this one's definitely a gameplay, and you'll see that echoed in the Lion of Jabir, which is just stock equipped. It's upgraded with Fierce and Brave, so basically it gives fear now, which it doesn't normally come with that keyword. Has standard armor and also another wind amulet, because the whole idea here is get them across the board, get them in close fast, once per game. Yeah, single use. So, which also in the context of a campaign, it means you're in the quartermaster step in the campaign system that we talked about. You're going to have to buy more of these because they're consumables. Basically, you don't get it every single time. So it's just something to think about.
Okay, let's move on to the little troops, the Azebs.
Yep. So we got 3 of these. 2 of them are going to be the same, right? So they're going to be copies of each other at 44. And that's going to be running the Jezzail, which is kind of it's like a mid-range gun that the
18 inches.
Yep, 18 inches is the range on that. Swords, alchemical ammunition, and gas masks. Because to play the Sultanate without using alchemical ammunition feels like a betrayal of everything that is appropriate to them. Unless you're running like the Grand Assassin sub faction, maybe I could see not running alchemical armor or ammunition, but basically, it's going to give you additional dice on your ranged, and it has a restriction for what weapons can use it. And it's going to make their shooting much more lethal. I will have 2 of those.
Gives you shrapnel too, right? That's really good. So 2 of those guys, putting those at 44 apiece. And then we've got a more kitted out Azeb, as in we upgraded his weapon to a flamethrower. So once again, give you that fire that ignores armor.
He will obviously will drop the alchemical because he's got the flamethrower. He can't have both of those.
Good shot. Gas mask though. Sword and axe as well. And
then last but not least, we have a Sultanate Sapper. The Sapper is going to be running the Ali Bosun, which is a 12-inch range, like basically blunderbuss effectively, which I've always had a soft spot in my heart for blunderbusses. I don't know why. They seem like, just a fun, weird gun. Running a sword, they get trench shield, alchemical ammunition, and a gas mask as well. And the Sappers come with shovels. So basically they're able to, dig in and give themselves cover. So that's going to be a good objective runner, as well, that mid-close range.
He's also got forward position, which I find very cool, that he's further deployed up the board, and he's got all these rules with mines as well.
So he's going to really kind of offset the Sapper from the Antioch, kind of a similar sort of
engineer.
Thing. Engineer. Yeah, combat engineer.
So how are we going to scale up this list over time, Johnny? And also, most important question to me, how are we going to get a Jabrian alchemist in here at some point, or an assassin in here at some point?
Well, I mean, that's immediately where I would go. I would start looking at the assassin first and foremost would be my initial investment.
Purchase.
Yeah, I would absolutely look to do it. And then, I mean, as well as like, upgrading obviously some of these guys with armor, making better armor, because going from a standard armor to reinforced armor especially on your combat, like close combat models, is always a good investment to upgrade to that extra -1, because that can make a big difference. I mean, your captain is pretty kitted. The best thing you could do with him is get him like a better ranged weapon, because he is +2 on range, which is solid. But generally, speaking, I'm going to be reaching for that assassin as soon as possible. And same thing, I'm going to be looking at dropping a wind amulet on him and just giving him all of the speed to get out there and do the things that the assassins do.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. And just getting more of the gun line kind of just going over time, right? Throughout the campaign, just getting, whether it be more weapons or just more shooting.
And I mean, I'm going to go with as many lines as I can fit in here as well, if it were up to me, just because they're a big threat, in close fight. They're not particularly resilient, but they are like, they're not like an anchorite shrine sort of threat level, but having multiple of them running around on the table would be very bad to have to deal with, especially for your like midline and lower troops. Those are definitely going to be the ones who are going to struggle, with the lions.
It seems like the lions and the pit locusts both are very much like a force multiplier, where it's like, 2 is not just 2 on the board. We say numbers. It's also like it's fulfilling what they need to do, because probably one of them's going to get shot. The other one's going to make it through now too.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
And that's also a problem for your opponent. So very cool. And the lion's feasible. Obviously you don't want him to die first game, but I mean, 90 points, if you could bring him back, if you have to.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And I mean, and that's the thing, is you can always buy more in the quartermaster step as necessary.
Yeah.
You can recruit more. If you get wildly decimated, you have the ability to obviously re-recruit, your list and everything along those lines. You can kind of look at this list as that midline gun with a little bit of close combat threats that'll going to kind of come at you.
Love it. So that's the 3 faithful rosters. Of course, we built the 3 fallen rosters on our Patreon bonus feed. And of course, if you want to support the show, the number one way to do so is our Patreon, patreon.com/saints and sevens. Find a tier that works for you. Jump on in. It gets you instant access to our Discord at any tier. And, the second tier and up is going to get you that bonus podcast and all the additional features, including our future leagues and other things we're planning, like video content eventually. So there's a lot of things we want to get to. Patreon's going to help us get there. But regardless, either way, this feed and the bonus feed will always be going.
That's right. All the good stuff.
Before this campaign starts, Johnny, I did want to hit on briefly like some of the ideas we have on this. We kind of hit on the high level ones, getting new players into the game, getting a 5 to 6 round campaign in one weekend. What else are you thinking about this campaign in terms of just talking out loud and also just kind of recording this moment in time before we actually get in it and kind of see how it goes for us?
Yeah, we can talk through the scenarios. People might be interested in to know what the scenarios are that we're going to be playing. So the way that we're going to set this up, because of the unique nature of running 6 people through a campaign simultaneously and not having unlimited space for terrain and stuff like that. Thankfully, about half of us are able to drive or more, and then you're flying in and so that there are obviously restrictions to the amount of stuff that we can jam into vehicles and travel with, and it's just that people have that are appropriate for a certain game. Because again, like we said, only half of the people have ever played this game that are actually going to be there, and the other half have never played it. So,
well, and another feature of this, which I think is a fun challenge for us, but also if executed well, could be better if I'm speaking out of turn, but essentially we're not going to a convention center or a con hall, right? This is a staycation con, is that
yes,
it, right? we're hosting this at a Airbnb venue where it's like a larger space for certain, but it's not a gaming hall. This is not. So the considerations have to be made with that. And something Johnny and I have talked about off mic too is how do you expedite this campaign? How do you get everyone to play each other? That's another reason why I'm also still leaning on 6 rounds, Johnny, because that would mean everybody gets to play each other once, including the Great War. But also, once you've kind of locked your number of games plus the Great War, it's kind of how I'm always thinking my campaigns going forward is what's the number of games plus the Great War, at the end. Kind of bring a fun, crazy free-for-all thing at the end. Is what you were talking about off mic. Is there ways you can set up tables for a weekend? Let's say you tried to do a campaign in 2 or 3 days. Could you set them up at your local shop, or in this situation, the place we've rented for the weekend, and expedite it? And so the example you gave, I thought was really great. Always have an armored train table set up, and eventually every set of players can play the armored train by the end. So for us, there's 6 of us. We all play the armored train once, right? So let's talk through that, how you'd orchestrate that, and like with the scenarios, rather than everybody on Armored Train round 1, get the game in over 2 weeks. We'll meet back at the game store in 2 weeks. How are we going to do it here?
Yeah, and that's typically how it runs in like a larger scale campaign in a game shop or something along those lines, which is, hey, we have 2 or 3 sets of this train. Everyone, you have a week to get your game in. Here's an organized play day. Everyone can come out and play if they want, that you can get your pickup game with someone or whatever the case is, blah, 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 blah. But with this, we're structured we have a day, basically, maybe a day and some change to get all these games in. So how do we maximize that? So how that worked for me from the planning perspective was I looked at the scenarios that I thought would be the most compelling to play, but also not the most complicated to play, because we do have a lot of new players, right? And it's okay to stack some of the more complicated ones towards the back end, obviously, because by the time they get to game 4, they've already played 4 games in one day, so they should have a good handle on, how the game plays and everything like that. But then looking at making a master list of like, what terrain do we need to make this happen? And can it be double tapped for a different scenario? And that's what's key, is if I set up one table, and so the way that we've set it up is we have 3 tables that are going to be set. Each of those tables are going to be able to use for more than one scenario, which makes it extremely simple. You leave the table set, 2 people at one, 2 people at another, 2 people at the last, and then you're just going to rotate your way through playing different scenarios as you go through. And to your point, the one with the armored train on it will just be the armored train scenario one when that one comes up for whoever is playing the armored train, right? So we set yourself in a cycle, right? So everyone has a chance to play, and you'll play on each of the boards twice.
Yeah, love it. And we should all be able to play each other by the end. But, the Great War in the very end, we at least have 3 faithful, 3 fallen factions. So
that's right.
We can team up in the end.
That's right. The story will be beautiful. It'll be a great story. Maybe we just jam them all together and we all play together and just be one side versus one side. I'd be here for that.
Here's a real question, Johnny. How do you tell a story through such a quick campaign as a TO of this, but also how do you tell a story through the format we're going to try, which is kind of like, I might be playing Armored Train round 1. You might be playing it round 3. How do you tell a story to players through that? Is it through those scenarios and kind of through the post game of those scenarios?
Yeah. So I think there's the beautiful thing with the campaign system that Trench Crusade has already baked in, right?
Yeah.
Is there's space for you to develop, like I did with the Somme Offensive, which was the last organized campaign play that I played for my local community here that I ran, is you could design an overarching global narrative that takes place and it kind of paints the pictures and people get invested in what's going on the global map and these kinds of things. Or on the flip side of that, you could have a campaign that from a global narrative perspective is very loose. Warband itself creates its own story, its own narrative because of the progression, because of how the units progress, because of how losses happen, because of how they get promoted or injuries occur and these other things that happen. And especially when you have the opportunity to play that warband another time throughout that time frame, it's really creative and it's a really unique opportunity to experience like, oh, well, my nun Lucy has beef with that Golden Knight over there because the last time we met in battle, he cut her arm off or something like that, right? So Lucy's out for blood, or whatever the case is, like that can happen.
Yeah.
And so I think inherently within the context of, a beginner friendly and also a more enhanced time constraint, a lot of that narrative story is going to just develop naturally from the warband and what the warband does and what happens between players. And then that in-between phase of the exploration phase, because that inherently will dictate so much of the story about your warband, because maybe you discover a place and you find something really cool, or you meet this really weird merchant, or you are able to, get a stash of money and recruit a bunch of people. And all of a sudden, like you've, people have flocked to your banner because you've, dealt a victorious blow against the demons of the court or something, like that kind of just develops naturally through what happens, between games.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely love it. I also think there's an element that is going to come through in our campaign that's going to be really unique. It's obviously us all doing this in a really tight period in a space we rented and all traveled to. There's an element of just, I guess, specialness and hyper focus, like really. And I think the campaign, even if the narrative might be shorter because it's more concise and pushed together, less time to like think about, pontificate on how your hunter the left-handed path has racked up 20 kills and he's got this whole backstory or whatever. More just, we're actually all experiencing in the same room in like a 30-hour time frame or something, like I think it's going to have a unique effect. And similar to if anyone's ever done kind of a weekend gaming thing with friends or even at cons where it's like, hey, we're going to play Twilight Imperium all day. We're going to play D&D all night, And I think it's going to have that element, which is we just don't know what that's going to be yet, but we're going to know when we get back.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Either that, we'll come back and we'll be really stoked, or we'll be like, wow, okay, 6 games in one day is too many.
Yeah.
Could use a palate cleanser.
Maybe it's 5 in the Great War in the morning, the next day. Ever get the rest and not be melted for
that's
the most model intensive game at the end.
Dreaming about blood markers.
Oh, man. Yeah. But I would like to fight alongside Drew. If he's got the wide court and I've got the tall court, there's something there. That'd be kind of cool to see on the table.
Nightmare to deal with you guys as model.
It's going to be so much fun. So much fun. So in addition to Trench Crusade, we're going to be playing a Marvel Crisis Protocol tournament, which I'll be running, which will just be very casual. I mean, we'll probably do a short round robin thing. But on top of that, we're going to be playing a lot of other fun game systems that we really enjoy that we think will 100% be improved by this format and this weekend, and some of those games are Gaslands and Arena Rex in particular. Great games that people play at cons often at the end of nights and stuff, but you just don't have the option to play those at this level as often, I think, at the game store and stuff. And we're going to be doing that. It's going to be super fun.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a huge fan of Gaslands. I'm running a Grand Prix out of my local community where it's going to be kind of a 1 day, race kind
That's
of deal
awesome.
that we're going to be doing. But I've never had the opportunity to play Arena Rex, so I'm very stoked on it because Jesse actually introduced me to some of the models that I was like mind blown when I saw them, and I was like, hold on a second. And I saw Arena Rex at Nova last year when I was down at Nova Open, and I was going over to the Mantic booth to talk to them about some Halo stuff. And they were like right next to the Arena Rex booth, and I saw it. Yeah. I was like, "What is this game? This looks really cool." And then I was like, "I don't need another game. I'm not going to do it right now. We'll see what happens after this weekend." It might go on my list of things to buy next year.
Also, maybe this is like the aspiring minimalist in me too, Johnny, but I really like the presentation of their models where you get these gorgeous cardstock cards that have the art and the lore on one side and then the model stats and tree on the other side. Because in Arena Rex, you have trees similar to Star Wars Shatterpoint. And when you buy a model, it's like a bag with the card and like shrink wrap or whatever. And then the sprues in the bag. And it's just like, hey, you're good to go. It's just very straightforward and very easy. You could walk away from a convention with a bunch of Arena Rex models, like taking up like this much space, like that's a couple inches, right? So it's just a little different in that way. But yeah, I'm excited to play Arena Rex as well. Just push people in some pits, push people into some lions, good stuff like that.
If you're not familiar with Arena Rex, it's like gladiatorial combat, basically. Yes. It was on a very small skirmish level as far as model count.
But it's alt history, which is super cool. Fantasy element as well, where it's like, what if the civilization continued down a certain path? And they also, similar to Trench Crusade, a fantasy element was introduced as well. And, there's cool stuff too. Like I know Tim's bringing his roster of the Zephyri, and the Zephyri do not exist in our world, but they could have existed. They are Norse Native American coalesced people. Just interesting game. And there's even a lot of Greek mythology that sneaks in. Like there's stuff like the Chimera and the Gorgon sisters and stuff sneaking into the game as well.
Which are super cool models. Side note.
Yeah. The coolest. I think that Medusa, if I could have that Medusa painted by a pro painter, that's my goal. That is will happen. So it will happen.
100%. So, and Gaslands is a I guess kind of dystopian post-apocalyptic
Mad
racing
Max.
game. Yeah, Mad Max style kind of racing game. The whole idea is basically the Earth is really gone downhill. All the rich people live on Mars now. Mars is the getaway. And everyone is corporate sponsors. Friday night. It's not Friday night fights. It's Friday night death races with cars with guns and stuff attached to them. And corporate sponsors sponsor them. And if you win enough, you get a chance to go to Mars, allegedly, although we all know that Mars is a lie. So you're never getting off the planet. But what's cool about it is it's built off of Hot Wheels, like Matchbox cars and stuff like that, where you get them and you just kit bash them. You put guns on them and do a bunch of different stuff. So it's a really cool, fun little racing game that gives you an opportunity to play with those Matchbox cars that you had since you were a kid. Or maybe your kids have them now and you stole them from your kids to build things out of them.
Just glue the wheels. Right.
Yeah.
And throw some kit bash weapons on them, dry brush them up, put some basing paste on the wheels, whatever. And you can have a ton of fun. It's a really cool game. And though a terrible analogy, I've used it to describe to like quickly to people that like it's Mario Kart adjacent, where it's like we've got to complete laps. We're also shooting weapons at each other, getting upgrades as we go through the gates and stuff. And someone will get across the finish line that maybe endured the most, similar to Mario Kart in that way, so.
I'm not saying that I have the STLs for a Mario Kart terrain set.
I knew it.
And I have a bunch of Mario Kart toys from McDonald's.
Those Hot Wheel. Oh, those. Yeah.
Yeah, they do have Hot Wheels ones I found after the fact. Yeah. But the thing that I like about the McDonald's toys that my kid had got is they're like oversized just a little bit. So they're kind of like extra cartoony, which I think, if you put a giant machine gun next to Princess Peach makes it even that much better, that she's in this kind of oversized cart with a giant head, but it's machine gun.
You don't have to sell me on Mario Kart version. I will try it. My only request is if I can be King Boo, I will be every time. So
good one.
Every time. Yeah. I'm on brand here, but I would love to play any version of Gaslands like that. So it's cool to play it. I'm not playing a long time. I do have templates. So I need to make sure to pack them as I'm about to leave. I've got the acrylic.
Yeah, same. And I'm also bringing a set I printed up as well for everyone to use.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So those work really well. But one day I would love to have a Star Wars pod racer, Gaslands.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Come on.
That's all I've thought of for years. That's all
I'm writing that down. That's next on my list to do.
Yeah. Well, and they used to make in the 90s, in 2000s, they had the Star Wars Micro Machines pod racers.
Yeah.
You can typically only find them in antique malls and thrift stores now, but they are there. And I was always looking at those like, these might convert pretty well to Gaslands templates and stuff, because a lot of them have like a acrylic floating base thing going on. You know what I mean? But people have built like the Bunta Eve Classic, like the Tatooine map, and they've made it like canon for Gaslands.
I'll do some research after I get back.
Go through the canyons, and all that good stuff. So roll the hazards for the Tusken Raiders on the course, whatever it may be. Good stuff. So
I'm here for it.
But we're doing that stuff, and then we have pickup games on the side too. But those games are going to be the focus. If we can get more, we will. There's other things too, like board games and stuff. But we're going to see
how much time we happens. Actually have.
Yeah, that's the problem. You could kick us out of this place at some point,
Yeah, that's right.
But super excited about it. We hope you guys have enjoyed the discussion about the Faithful rosters. Of course, we had to go over the Trench Shrine and close out the episode. It is going to be a shorter Trench Shrine today, Johnny, because we've got some cool Trench Shrines in the future, but a very appropriate and somber Trench Shrine today.
Yeah. So recently, if anyone is familiar, and I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you probably have some adjacent familiarity with an artist named John Blanche. John Blanche recently died, and they recently made the announcement just a little bit after his death. And it was a big hit to the community. For those of you who may not be familiar, John Blanche is basically the grandfather of the Grimdark. He is an artist who used to work for Games Workshop, which is the big company that kind of started Grimdark and managed most of the games that this term of Grimdark came out of. We mentioned it in previous podcasts, Inquisitor 28, Mordheim, all of these kinds of games. And early Games Workshop games like 40K were a lot more Grimdark than they are now. They're much more, cleaned up and stuff like that. But Blanche is attributed to the primary art style of the Grimdark and developing it, as well as a painting style for models which was coined Blanche Jitsu, which my understanding was he always was kind of appalled that it was named after that. And when I say like he's an artist, it's not that he's a miniature painter inherently that just painted models. He was actually a legitimate artist doing a lot of different stuff, not just in the covers of White Dwarf, but submitting it to lots of other places. Is heavily influenced by artists like Doer and Bosch, Rembrandt, and looked, especially later on in his life, moved into more. He always worked with a limited palette, right? Very heavily in the browns and sepias and those kinds of colors, and kind of disproportionate figures and long, thin, delicate lines in his artwork, all very kind of fantastical and dark, in their topicing. But later on in his career, he moved to almost exclusively working in like charcoal and that kind of a thing, and kind of a black and white style, or just a gradiated sepia style with his work, very minimalist and everything. And he just passed at the beginning of June of this year, and you could actually see him. We mentioned him, I believe, when we talked about the John Hader documentary, The Grim and the Dark, and he was kind of the golden unicorn, if you will, that they were trying to get in front of, because his health had declined at that point. He wasn't doing a lot of interviews and things like that, very kind of reclusive in his home in England. But they were able to get in front of him and talk to him for a little bit at the end of that documentary, which again, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend go back and look at it. It's a really good time to see someone journeys into gaming, but also to see an opportunity, very timely actually, capture of John Blanche and his work at that stage. And he was still working. I mean, was heavily instrumental in the art direction of Trench Crusade, contributed to it in the early development, and continued to, was very close to Tomas and a lot of the other individuals who are responsible for this game and a lot of the games from Games Workshop along the way. And is just an icon in the industry, and also just, kind of the one to attribute this entire genre of the Grimdark to what he, offered to the art community. And his stuff is definitely something that you would see in things like heavy metal, and stuff like that. Very kind of sci-fi, fantasy adjacent kind of artwork that's very unique and identifiable. There's a group that we talked about, 28 Mag, the 28 Magazine group. Yep. They have a book, 28 Illustrated, that has a lot of his work in it as well. That he's definitely been instrumental in just influencing a massive generation of artists and painters around the world.
Great summary there, Johnny. I mean, the amount of dominoes he's set up across the art community, across the miniatures gaming community, it's kind of, at this point, untraceable, right? It's so many sets of dominoes. They did post this on the Trench Crusade website as well, which I thought was really cool. They even talked about his work, like on the Tolkien bestiary, but also too, like they showed his art, Trench Crusade concept stuff, and that Trench Pilgrim, which we talked about today, that he had. I don't know if this concept art or this was a later piece. I don't know the story there, Johnny, but it's a gorgeous piece, monochromatic, hand drawn, and they posted on the in memoriam page. Like you said, very much his grayscale type style. But once again, I don't think Trench Crusade would exist without all the things he did before. I think it's safe to say, and I'm sure Franchina would say the same thing, right? Like being the primary artist on, I'm sure he was strongly influenced over the years.
I could only imagine. I mean, it
yeah,
has to be, right? Would have to have been wildly influenced by Blanche and the stuff that he brought to the table. So, yeah, I don't think being married to an artist, it's interesting to me to think about what the impact, the perceived impact from an artist's perspective of their career and their lifespan, right? Especially because so many artists struggle. Like that's not a job. And, we're both musicians. We've talked about this, in other capacities, but there's no stability there, No. And to have been a humble artist who influenced and colored an entire generation of other artists in defined a genre, right? It makes me think about Elmore and some of the artists from the 80s that were influential to the Dungeons and Dragons. They worked under TSR when they first came out in the 70s and 80s. And they, defined a style of classical art, came into a role-playing game, of all things, right? That was, here is an outlet for these classically trained artists to come in and do these massive oil paintings that are being posed down into book covers and things like that, and module covers and stuff. And it was an interesting time, much like this gaming environment in the 80s and 90s, where Blanche was really directly involved, where you had legitimate artists doing legitimate art and it being used for an actual publication, right? Book covers and these kinds of things. And, we've kind of lost that in a lot of ways, today. It's one of the reasons why I was a big adamant fan of wanting to get the hard copy of the Trench Crusade manual itself, the rule book. It's just for the art, if nothing else, because that's a fading medium, that tangible medium that these days, to find that kind of expression of.
Oh yeah. And like you said, it's always a struggle, and the great artists are always creating, right? And whether or not it's getting a lot of people's eyes on it or little, I mean, they're still creating, right? And that's kind of what inspires me as a creator. But speaking of like art and the John Blanche style, I mean, our art on this very show, Johnny, this is a good opportunity to talk about the art we have on this very show, maybe a little bit of the perceived story on it, but more importantly, just why we have real art as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's for that exact same reason, right? Because we believe very firmly in supporting other creatives and other artists, right?
This is the Zao conversation from last week too.
100%. Maintaining and supporting a space where people are able to find expression for their skills and their art and their creativity, and have a place where it's put out, that it's appreciated and able to be, consumed by, the audience that it's intended for.
Yeah. And I'm also very infatuated in recent years, just in general, my whole life, but with the concept of art synthesis too, right? And this concept of something we've talked about a lot on this Trench Shrine, and I think it's why I look forward to this every episode, but it's this concept of all these art forms can contribute to each other. All these things you can bring in as a host, all these things you can bring in as a creator yourself, running stuff at your local game store, whatever it may be. Like, that's why we talked about Silent Hill or Zao or something right on here, because there is a level of obviously adjacency between these things, but also I think there's an art synthesis in this too, where the way you paint your miniatures or the way you approach things, it can all be inspiring in different directions, right? It's just however it inspires you. That's what this court roster I'm doing is. Absolutely. It's just very much inspired by obviously the Lovecraft stuff, as we're talking about, but now you're talking about also like the He-Man palette and some of these other elements of just art styles that maybe might be a little strange at first for Grimdark, but at the same time, it's like something I enjoy, and I hope it brings people joy in different ways. And that's just one tiny, tiny example, And so with us getting our own art for this show, it seems very John Blanche inspired when you really think about it, Johnny, looking at our art.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Charcoal, we got Joan of Arc in the trenches, and we can talk more about that in the future, and the looming threat of the court on the horizon for sure, and what it means to hold on to hope, right, in the darkest of times, but also too, just, as we just mentioned, Zao as our music now, and what Zao means to us personally, but also what we think it brings to the vibe here of Trench Crusade.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's no loss that that's like a technical like charcoal sketch that was done for the cover art for us by a very generous artist. And the thing that I love about the framework of, there's a lot of things I enjoy about the framework of Trench Crusade, but one of the things that I enjoy about it is in the context of this conversation is that, to your point about how you're addressing your warband, not only from a unique paint scheme on established models that are being produced by the company, but also on proxy models that you've found, because the game allows that sort of a thing, to be able to address a different style of expression and style with the models themselves, that it opens a wide breadth of artistic opportunities for people to express themselves, whether it's how am I going to go about modeling my warband, because I have all these options, right, that I'm able to go after and kind of go after my own artistic expression of what I think New Antioch would look like, or the Sultanate would look like, or whatever the case may be. Or if that's not my wheelhouse and I don't have that experience yet, maybe in my gaming career, I can get these models which are beautifully sculpted by an actual person and human being, right? And then I can paint them in a way that is expressive to my styling, right? That I'm able to express my artistic styling, and maybe it's with a synthwave pattern, maybe it's with some sort of like other dimensional kind of approach versus the burning fire and brimstone style of hell. Maybe it's a cleaner form of Trench Pilgrim instead of the grimy, dirty version of them, or whatever the case may be, in your own color schemes and everything like that. So there's a lot of opportunity from a visual perspective to present a type of artistic expression, which I believe is also being echoed, especially with the development of the Carcass Front that's coming from Factory Fortress, and how that's a completely different vibe from what we've seen visually up until this point, And they're exploring some things that like most people probably wouldn't. like, like there's a shark hanging off of that guy's body, right? Like that's kind of cool. That's weird. That's great.
And now he's a drown chorister, right?
Oh, the drown! Don't even drown chorister is amazing.
Don't get you started. That's what that guy
sick.
is.
Yeah, sick.
But you're bringing up a really valid point of the expression of the hobby in this game could be the highest over time, because a lot of it's like, what's your story? Like, what speaks to you as a saint? Like Drew's got that with his upcoming Frozen Hell court warband, where his saint is like this amalgamated Yeti. You know what I mean? And that fits that Frozen Hell theme and all that stuff really well. But it's also too like, maybe Drew just likes Yetis like I do, but it's like, what I'm saying is like, there's an expression here where it's like, I'm choosing like a Lovecraft elder god approach with my court. And how can we express that through the basing, through the painting and all this stuff? And I don't know, there's obviously that's part of my story, is my background in all the elder god stuff and Lovecraft. And that part of horror has always spoken to me, but I also like colors. I'm a person who likes to wear color, enjoy color. And so there's an element of the hobby that I think every game has, of course, but I'd say it's a little bit more in Trench Crusade, and especially people want to get a little bit out there with their expression.
Yeah, the reins are off.
Yeah. I mean, your list we mentioned He-Man a couple times in jest because it's a very beautiful color palette for He-Man. You could make like a Skeletor heretic faction. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's not that hard. And like with some scaling down of models or taking old miniatures, whatever it is, I mean, you can make it happen,
Absolutely. I mean, so full transparency, I think I've alluded to this already, but for my court, I'm going to be rating the Dark Souls board game that I have been sitting on for a long time. And I'm going to be going in there for a lot of that kind of motivation stuff, because it's got a kind of grimdark adjacent styling that's kind of unique and weird, and doing some kit bashing with that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to getting in on that at some point in time, because that also creates a different style of painting opportunity as well that I'm looking forward to doing. So
yeah, that's awesome. Can't wait for that. something you and I talked about on the show several times, but I'm also fascinated with the concept of sculptors out there and also just players creating different cultural expressions of Antioch.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm really keeping an eye out on for. Like, I want to see, as you mentioned, like African regions. I'm infatuated with the shogunate.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity there.
It's so cool. So to kind of put a bow on this whole conversation with the campaign, I also think in players doing that and us going to more events over time in the future and showcasing these models and showcasing our warbands, it's actually going to like tell the story of Trench Crusade cohesively over time. Because the way they're doing events and stuff too is like, if you show up to these events, we got these campaigns with these twists and turns and like, okay, your Frozen Throne court like made it all the way in, and that could be Trench Crusade canon now. You know what I mean? It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what's great about it. And influence the global narrative. I'm here for it.
Let's do it. Let's do it next Adepticon. That's the plan, right? So
yeah,
we will see. So this has been a fun conversation. And as we said, you guys are hearing this. We're probably traveling back right now. So this is a fun time travel discussion, but we're about to step on vehicles to go to our event. So, I mean, it's what a cool place, Johnny, to put a pin in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll follow up when we come back. We'll let you know how it went. And then we will, afterwards, just start jumping into our deep dives on our factions. So we can kind of talk a little bit more in depth about the ideas about how these models play, how they would integrate in the future, the lore behind those factions, and then really start digging into what those sub factions really look like and everything. So I'm looking forward to it. It's got a lot of good stuff coming.
Oh yeah, we would really enjoy if you guys continue to stick with us and hear all that stuff. But of course, tell the place you can find us online. The number one way to find us and support us is patreon.com/saints and sevens. Get involved in our private Discord community, get talking, get some bonus episodes, ad-free episodes of this feed, and so much more. So find a tier that works for you. And you can follow us online everywhere at Saints and Sevens. We'd like to get that YouTube page going. So in particular, I'm going to plug the YouTube this week, Johnny, where we send people to the YouTube because we're also posting the podcast there. And we know a lot of you guys out there might be YouTube premium subscribers, and maybe that's how you like to enjoy your podcast. So that's going to be on there as well with some hopefully future video content if time and the Patreon allows us to in the future. But also, you can find us several spaces online. So you can find me on Discord at my name, Jesse Aiken. That's Eakin. Check out my other shows about some other great game systems and universes. Fury's Finest about Marvel Crisis Protocol and the Marvel Universe. Hello There about Star Wars Shatterpoint, Star Wars Legion, and the Star Wars Universe. And Truth and Reconciliation about Mantic's Halo Flashpoint. And of course, the Halo Universe, where there's a lot of stuff on the Halo Horizon.
Cool, buddy.
With that fully campaign evolved of my favorite Halo game, which is Halo Combat Evolved. So that's on the horizon very soon for Halo. So if you want to hear us talk Halo, check out Truth and Reconciliation. Johnny, where can everyone find you?
Yep. Then give me a Discord at the real Johnny5 with a period at the end because I am the real one. And then you check out my other show, You're Such a Nerd. It's the Definitive Geek Culture website, very interview style. We talk about a lot of different topics. We're kind of all over the place. So that's where you can get it.
Definitely check that out. And until next time, we'll see you on the other side of the campaign. Roll sevens.
Keep your heads down and stay safe, Saints.